The City of Light draws millions of visitors every year with its unforgettable ambience. Of course, the divine cuisine and vast art collections deserve some of the credit as well. The gentle River Seine rambles through the city, flanked by stately museums, centuries-old churches, and blocks of Rococo and Neoclassic-design architecture, further enhanced by cascading trees and glowing street lamps. Peppering the Seine's cobbled walks and graceful bridges are impossibly chic Parisians, probably on their way to the market, cafe, or cinema. Containing world-class museums, fashion, cuisine and an atmosphere all its own, Paris is also a city of many splendors, as Ernest Hemingway recalled in his memoir, A Moveable Feast. Visit the beloved Musée d'Orsay, shop the biggest designers on the Champs Élysées, or hit the boutiques in Le Marais, take in the view atop the Eiffel Tower, or even plan a day trip to Versailles Palace. But don't miss out on the simple pleasure of meandering. The marveThe question isn't what to do in Paris, but rather how to decide. With so many wonderful and varied options, it can be hard to plan your itinerary, whether you're an art lover, a history buff, or a serious shopper. Let our list help. Here's a mix of some of the best things to do in Paris that you simply can't miss, from local favorites that will make you feel like a true Parisian, to some of the city's best sights and experiences. All you have to do now is pack. 1. Jardin du Luxembourg. Located in the heart of the 6th arrondissement, the famous Jardin du Luxembourg is an inviting green oasis for Parisians and visitors alike. Come for people watching, romantic strolls, picnics, or just to admire the mashup of English, Italian, and French landscaping influences. If you're feeling athletic, join the early morning joggers or stake out one of the tennis and pétanque courts. 2. Musée du Louvre. The Louvre hardly needs an introduction. It is the most visited museum in the world, with more than 10 million visitors in 2018. The former royal palace is now the magnificent home of some of the world's most iconic artworks. Ever hear of the Mona Lisa? Don't freak out, but walking through the halls where Louis XIV once strolled, he lived here before moving to Versailles, surrounded by the most famous art on earth, can be an overwhelming experience. Masks are required inside for anyone over the age of 11 now. 3. Palais Garnier. The pinnacle of Napoleon III architecture, the resplendent Le Palais Garnier Opera House is opulent from every angle. The facade is covered with ornamentation and busts, as well as l'Harmonie and La Poésie, the two gilded copper statues flanking the entrance from on high. Inside, make sure to channel your best Phantom of the Opera moment on the iconic lobby's grand staircase, a triumph of decadent Parisian design. Admission costs about €14, but it's well worth it. Walking through these public spaces is like walking into the Paris of the past. The Opéra National de Paris is going back to performances in mid-July, with reduced attendance and the country's health pass required. 4. Centre Pompidou. When the Centre Pompidou opened in 1977, it was a radical and controversial design for a museum, all industrial pipes and open glass views of Paris. 40+ years later, it's the undisputed grande dame of Paris's contemporary art world. Within the massive 100,000-piece collection that stretches back to 1905, you'll find everything from Picasso's to video installations. Make sure to book your reserved tickets for a specific time slot to get in, and bring a mask for anyone over 11 years old. 5. Basilique du Sacré-Cœur de Montmartre. Sacré-Cœur is a Catholic basilica that sits on the highest hill in Paris, in the Montmartre neighborhood. Its height is topped only by the Eiffel Tower. The basilica's distinct white travertine facade gives the Romano-Byzantine structure a unique look among Parisian monuments. The church is open all day to anyone who wishes to visit, though big crowds mean you may have to wait to go inside. 6. Palais Royal. The Palais Royal complex is in some ways Paris in a nutshell: shops, cafes, art, history, architecture, bureaucracy, and spectacular gardens for people watching. And since it's all right across the street from the Louvre, you likely won't need to make a special trip. Don't miss the insta-famous Colonnes de Buren art installation in the inner courtyard. 7. Eiffel Tower. Gustave Eiffel's controversial wrought iron lattice tower has been polarizing Parisians since it was built for the 1889 World's Fair, but today, the Eiffel Tower is one of the most beloved and instantly recognizable landmarks in the city and the world. The structure anchors one end of the expansive Champs de Mars and provides an orientation point for the city. Jules Verne, the second-floor restaurant, is a Michelin-starred and pricey institution that is currently closed for renovation until the fall, as is the tiny champagne bar at the tippity top, which is still closed due to COVID regulations. The Eiffel Tower will reopen to visitors on July 16 and is currently accepting reservations for time tickets. 8. Père Lachaise Cemetery. If visiting a cemetery sounds morbid and dreary, rest assured, it is, but in the best possible way. Death is an inescapable part of French life, and the layers on layers of Parisian history on display at Père Lachaise Cemetery are a fascinating peek into how the city has evolved over time. Visitors flock to the A-list graves here, with Oscar Wilde, Edith Piaf, and Jim Morrison among the most visited. But one of the great delights is to walk away from the crowds and get lost wandering among the lesser-known, less visited ones, which are all in various states of repair. Some have been completely worn down with obscurity over time, others appear to be washed and adorned with fresh flowers on a weekly basis. Keep your eyes peeled, and you might find some other noteworthy names buried here, from composer Frédéric Chopin to writer Marcel Proust and painter Eugène Delacroix. 9. Philharmonie de Paris. The Philharmonie de Paris is a striking contemporary building, designed by Jean Nouvel, not without controversy, and opened in 2015. Located within the Site de la Musique complex in the Parc de la Villette, in the underexplored 19th arrondissement, the building breaks with all the design conventions of traditional symphony halls, instead favoring pod-like boxes inside the theater, a stage in the round, and a complex, undulating metal facade. 10. Musée d'Orsay. A vast collection of Impressionist art is the focus at the Musée d'Orsay, the second most visited museum in Paris, after the Louvre, of course. At every turn, you'll be delighted to recognize yet another piece from pop culture or that art history class you took. There is no room not worth exploring here, so let yourself just wander among masterworks by names like Degas, Cézanne, Manet, Renoir, and Monet. Pre-booking online for time tickets is now required for entry, and masks are required for any visitors above 11. 11. Musée du Quai Branly-Jacques Chirac. The Musée du Quai Branly-Jacques Chirac is perhaps best known for its unusual design by Jean Nouvel. The exterior of the building almost seems alive with plant walls and wild gardens, while the interiors are dark, winding, and dramatically lit. The modern structure stands in sharp contrast with the treasures housed inside, ancient art and artifacts and relics of bygone civilizations, with a specific focus on non-European cultures. Be sure to check out the museum's continuous calendar of special exhibitions, including shows centered around a specific culture. 12. Jardin des Tuileries. This sprawling, spectacular park is the beating heart of Paris' public spaces. Standing proudly between the Louvre and Place de la Concorde, and along much of the Seine's right bank in the first arrondissement, Tuileries Garden, Jardin des Tuileries, has a history as long and distinguished as it is impressive, from its inception as an aristocratic playground in the 16th century, to becoming a public space in the 17th century, to serving as the site of numerous French Revolution skirmishes in the 18th century. With more than 55 acres, the park offers plenty of room to stroll and lots of photo ops. Keep an eye out for Auguste Rodin's iconic Le Baiser, The Kiss, on the West Terrace. If you have anywhere to go in this part of Paris, skip the taxi or the metro and walk there on foot through the Tuileries. You'll see something different every time. 13. Musée Picasso Paris. The hotel sale alone is reason to visit, but of course the real draw is Picasso's oeuvre, more popular than ever following a much-hyped 2014 reopening. And since the museum is centrally located in the bustling Marais, it's easy to work the Musée Picasso into a day out shopping and dining. While there are other single-artist museums in Paris, the combination of Picasso's fame and the beauty of the setting make this one of the very best. Timed tickets must be reserved online in advance to visit the museum. Fondation Louis Vuitton. Originally opened to the public in 2014, and reopening in September 2021, the Fondation Louis Vuitton is a newbie in Paris's cultural scene, but it arrived with a bang. Star American architect Frank Gehry designed the building, which looks like a magical sailboat afloat on a man-made lake in the Bois de Boulogne. Thanks to the spectacular architecture and blockbuster exhibitions, the museum is bustling at all times, despite its location in the far western 16th arrondissement. 14. Palais de Tokyo. The Palais de Tokyo is the largest center for contemporary art in Europe. Opened in 2002, its mission is to celebrate living artists across multiple disciplines. As part of the renovation of the building, the 1937 structure was stripped back to the original concrete, giving it a raw and unfinished feeling that is distinctly different than the typical White Room museum layout. Visitors should start their exploration in the subterranean levels, where art such as large-scale graffiti works are on display, and end with a drink or dinner at Monsieur Bleu, Arc de 15. 15. Triomphe. The Arc de Triomphe was commissioned by Napoleon in 1806 to celebrate his victory at the Battle of Austerlitz. Climb the nearly 300 steps to the top for some of the best views of Paris, with clear vistas straight down the Champs Élysées all the way to the Louvre. You'll need a ticket purchased online only to go inside and up to the viewing platform, but anyone can come to admire the ornate facade for free, with a required mask. 16. Pantheon. There are a few major reasons to visit the Pantheon, starting with the gorgeous neoclassical architecture. Designed by Jacques-Germain Soufflot in 1757, it began as a replacement to the original Church of Saint Genevieve. People also come to visit the final resting places of some of France's most famous sons and daughters, from Victor Hugo to Marie Curie. And then there are those who come to marvel at Foucault's pendulum, tracing the path of the earth. The vibe in the crowd is a mix of awe, reverence, and curiosity. Timed tickets purchased online are required for admission currently. 17. Grand Palais. As associated with years of Chanel runway shows being held in the nave of this stately Beaux-Arts space as it is with the art exhibitions it houses, the Grand Palais is an emblem of French grandeur and architectural process. The time has come, however, for the Grand Dame of buildings, originally built for the World's Fair of 1900 to be refurbished. It is closed for renovations until 2024, but in its place, there is now the Grand Palais Éphémère, a 10,000 square foot temporary space on the Champ de Mars, which will host the artistic, cultural, fashion and art events that would normally be held in the Grand Palais. 18. Musée Rodin. Auguste Rodin lived in the Hotel Byron in the later stage of his life, where the gardens inspired some of his work. The former home opened as a museum to the public in 1919, almost 200 years after it was built for a wealthy financier. The high ceilings of the intimate rooms allow visitors to see Rodin's sculptures and drawings up close, while the large gardens showcase his most famous bronze sculptures, like The Gates of Hell and The Thinker. 19. National Museum of Natural History. Part curio cabinet, part institution of higher learning, it's part of the Sorbonne. The National Museum of Natural History is filled with exhibitions that inspire awe in visitors of all ages. The museum consists of 14 locations across France, but the Grande Galerie d'Evolution on the left bank is the showstopper all its own, with interiors that pay homage to Art Nouveau Paris through elegant wrought iron railings and soaring glass windows. It's a stark contrast to the main gallery's menagerie of articulated skeletons, taxidermies, and lifelike replications. The main attraction, especially for kids, is the permanent display of life-size elephants and giraffes, but the temporary exhibitions are also good. 20. Coulee Verte, René Dumont. Originally known as the Promenade Plantée, the Coulee Verte René Dumont is an elevated park built atop a revitalized railway structure. Opened in the late 1980s, the lush garden path stretches for 3 miles, with landscapes ranging from modern and manicured to wild and natural. This greenway, which for many will recall New York City's High Line, provides an unusual panoramic view over the 12th arrondissement, and since this crosses through less touristy neighborhoods, you'll get a sense of the real quotidian Paris. 21. Institut du Monde Arabe. The Institut du Monde Arabe celebrated its 30th anniversary in 2017, but its iconic building, designed by Jean Nouvel, looks as fresh and contemporary as ever. The light dances in and around the building, which hosts a rotating selection of art, exhibits, performances, workshops, and cultural events. Don't leave without inspecting the innovative facade up close or grabbing a bite with views on the 9th floor, pretty high up, for Paris. 22. Maison Victor Hugo. Newly reopened after a 2-year renovation, you can now imagine yourself living the life of a 19th-century writer by wandering through Victor Hugo's former home on the iconic Place de Vosges. You can discover the home he moved into the year following the publication of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is recreated to show the periods of his life pre-exile, in exile at his home in Guernsey and post-exile, along with special exhibitions of his works, including his drawings. A new feature of the renovation is the addition of a garden with a café at the exit of the tour. 23. La Bourse de Commerce, Pinot Collection. Just opened in May 2021, the newest space for contemporary art in Paris was commissioned by François Pinault to house part of his vast personal collection, amassed over 40 years. Designed by Tadao Ando, the revitalized Commodities Exchange building is located just blocks from the Louvre in the 1st arrondissement. With 5,000 works from the Pinault collection to be displayed across the 3,000 square meter space, you can expect to see works from the 1960s to the present with artists including Maurizio Cattelan, Urs Fischer, and Rudolf Stingel. 24. Musée Histoire de Paris, Carnavalet, the Carnavalet History of Paris Museum. The oldest museum dedicated to the history of Paris itself originally opened in a historic mansion in the Marais in 1880, but a recent renovation completed in 2021 has thoroughly brought the space into the modern era. The layout of the building has been redesigned, highlighting the beauty of the mid-16th century mansions as much as helping you to discover the Paleolithic origins of the city through the present, with 3,800 works now on display. Additionally, the museum is even easier to navigate now for everyone, with a new approach to accessibility including elevators and ramps. Don't miss the newly added restaurant on the gardens as well for a post-visit refreshment. Thank you for watching this video till the end. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. New videos coming soon.